Everybody, this is Mr. Knight, and I'm going to show you how to complete a check register on Google Sheets. We have an assignment that is due at the end of this week, and it is going to be set up very similar to this, except there's a little bit of extra work that has to be done here. So I'm going to show you a few things on how we can organize this better, and then we'll go ahead on solving. We're going to end up finding a total cost if we're buying a bunch of things and different amounts of it. How much is that going to cost in the end, especially if there's a discount involved, and especially if there's a sales tax. Now, first thing, I noticed that this 15% discount is sort of jutting into this cell over here, so I'm going to make the font size a little bit smaller so we don't have an issue there. Might as well make it smaller for the sales tax too. All right. So here we go. First thing, I noticed that my words that I type in move to the left and my numbers move to the right. I'm very neat and tidy, and I need everything to be centered in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of my cells. I just click, hold, and highlight. And I'm going to go over to these lines over here. This is our alignment tab. And I'm moving it from left to center. And that's going to completely center everything that I have highlighted. Secondly, I noticed that for price, these are just numbers and not in money form. So to change all of these numbers to money form, I'm going to highlight them, and I will click this currency symbol, this dollar sign, and it will change the formatting of those numbers into currency. So when I click that, it changes all of this to dollar form. Next, I want to, I just want to clean this up a little bit. I want to add some borders. Just so that there's some clear division between rows and columns. So here's what I mean. I'm going to highlight everything here, and I'm going to be typing into these cells over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add borders to each of these cells. So making these border lines a little bit darker. So to add border lines, I highlight everything. We have a paint can here, and then right next to it we have borders. If I click borders, this gives me all the different types of borders I can set up. I want every single line that I have highlighted to have a border on it. So when I click all borders, you will see that every single border has now darkened. Okay, so that's how you do borders. Next, I want a clear division between this portion and this portion. So I'm going to fill these two cells with a different color to show that division. So I'm going to highlight those two cells, click my paint can, which is a fill color, and I'm going to fill it with a light gray. Okay, that just shows a little bit of division from basically step one to the rest of what I'm doing. And now down here, I want to add more borders. More borders. Brilliant. Lastly, my final answer is going to be down here for total cost. So I'm going to highlight that in yellow because that's going to be where my final answer will end up. So what we're looking at here, this is a check register. Essentially, if you're running a business and you need to purchase large quantities of a large number of items, you might encounter a check register. So under the description, these are the different things that you are purchasing. We have paint, wood, lead, rubber, plastic, screws, aluminum. These are just a few things that a pencil factory might need. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a pencil factory, and to buy one quantity of each item, one of each is going to cost $28.50. So I'm assuming, this is like a bucket of paint, and this is just a piece of lumber, a brick of lead. I don't know how these things arrive at the factory, but all I know is one of each is going to cost this much. Okay, So that's not what we're spending in total because, one bucket of paint is $28.50, but this factory is going to have to buy 12 of them. So how do we calculate the total amount of money that they're going to end up spending on this? And that's where everything I have on the right side comes into play. This is exactly what I'm going to type into each of these cells right here. Okay, they should match. So what I'm going to do for this first cell is I'm going to say that this cell is equal to, remember I have to start with equals before I do any math. It's going to be equal to 2850, click, times 12, click, and I hit enter. So, and just to show you, this is matching that. I want to make sure they match. So I'm going to hit enter. We get $342. That's amazing. Okay, and we can go ahead and do that one more time. Equals. We click on 46 times 4 equals. Okay, so I just keep doing that over and over again for each of these cells until we reach the bottom. Do you want to see a shortcut? Google Sheets can actually do that for us. So at this point, I have B3 times C3, and then I have B4 times C4. And so what Google Sheets can actually do is make a prediction based on what you've done already. So since you've already done B3 times C3, and then you did B4 times C4, next it's assuming that you might want to do B5 times C5, and then B6 times C6. So to make Google Sheets do that for you, what you can do is you can copy either one of these cells. I'll pick this bottom one. Do Control C for copy, Control C, and you should see these dashed lines pop up. That's copy. And then I'm going to highlight all of these cells, and I'm going to paste what I've just copied. Control V. There you go. It's done that prediction for you. So it says, okay, based on what you've done, I'll go ahead and fill in the rest. So that just shaved a bunch of time for us. All right, so these are the total amounts. So this is what you're spending total on paint, what you're spending on wood, what you're spending on lead and rubber and plastic, screws, and aluminum. Okay, so that's section 1, is finding a total amount for each individual item. Now we need to add all this together, which brings us to our total space. Okay, so all we have to do is add all that up, and to do that as quickly as possible, and remember we could do 342 plus 184 plus 853 plus 8250 plus 220, but that's going to take too long, especially if we had more items on this list. So what we'll do instead is tell our Google Sheets to do that for us, to add everything together for us. And when we add a bunch of numbers together, it's called a sum. So we're going to tell it, you are going to be equal to the sum of, and you can go ahead and type in equals sum and hit enter. The sum of the numbers starting at D3, which is right here, and ending at D9. So it starts at 342, and then we highlight everything down to the last total number, which is the 1,326. Okay, so we've got sum, and then we highlight all these numbers and hit enter. So all of these numbers added together is equal to $3,187.74. And this is confirmed by my formula bar up here. This is where I can check my work. Okay, and these orange numbers are also show up down here, so it's confirming what numbers I used. All right, so now we need a 15% discount. So when we are calculating a 15% discount, what we need to do is find out what is 15% of our total. How do we find 15% of our total? So 15% means 15 out of 100. percent means out of 100, so 15 out of 100. And if you were to type that into a calculator, and I can do it right here, 15 out of, which is the same as divided by 100, we would get 0.15. And you can see the 0.15 right here. So 15% is equivalent to 0.15. So all we do is we take our sum, our total, and we multiply it by 0.15. This cell is equal to our total, $3,187.74, and we multiply it by 0.15. Enter. All right, that gives us $478.16. Now, $478.16 is not our new total. This is just 15% of that total. So with a discount, that means we get to remove this much money out of our total. So to find the new price, and since there's a sale involved, it's called our new sales price. So the sales price is equal to our previous total minus the discount of $478.16. And again, I'm clicking on these cells. That's how it pops up here. So it's D11 minus D12. Hit enter. All right, this is our new total price. And once we find a sales price, now we have to find out, we're always taxed. There's always a sales tax. So right now we're looking at a 7% sales tax. So now we just have to do the same step over. We need to figure out what is 7% of this sales price. If you were to type in 7 divided by 100, you would see that it is equal to 0.07. So we're going to do 7% is equal to our sales price, click, times 0.07. 0.07. Hit enter. Okay. So this is how much tax is being added on to our price. So the total cost is going to be the sales price plus tax. So this is equal to our sales price plus the tax of $189.67. Hit enter, and there is your final answer. Hope you learned something.